All right, and the United States is on the brink of its first government shutdown in nearly 7 years. This in the aftermath of a bitter standoff in Washington over healthcare and spending. Large parts of the federal government will be forced to suspend operations unless lawmakers strike a deal before midnight. The U.S. President Donald Trump and his Democratic opponents made little progress at a White House meeting towards undoing prospects of a shutdown. Both sides said the other would be at fault if Congress fails to extend government funding beyond the Tuesday deadline. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance slammed the Democrats, blaming them for placing conditions on support for a short-term budget bill, which could potentially push the U.S. to a shutdown in less than 36 hours.
Species. I don't get Chuck's position on that.
We just had a very frank conversation with the Senate and House Democratic leadership. Look, the principle at stake here is very simple. We have disagreements about tax policy, but you don't shut the government down. We have disagreements about health care policy, but you don't shut the government down. You don't use your policy disagreements as leverage to not pay our troops, to not have essential services of government actually function.
The clash, in fact, reflects deeper divisions between the two parties. While Democrats see the midnight deadline as leverage to protect Affordable Care Act tax credits and curb Medicaid cuts, Republicans argue Democrats are holding the public hostage for political gain and insist that health and government funding must be dealt with as separate issues. If both sides fail to meet a consensus, many government agencies face the risk of shutting down until Congress approves additional funding. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of workers have already been either suspended or asked to work without pay. Apart from political implications, the move has had a significant impact on world markets, with the dollar and equities slipping and gold hitting another record high. The last government shutdown took place back in 2018 during President Trump's first term. Their government shutdowns have happened during Trump's first term itself. According to the Congressional Research Service, there have been 14 shutdowns since 1981, many lasting only a day or two. One shutdown took place between December 1995 to January 96 due to a funding gap. That one lasted over 20 days, with most recent one which lasted 35 days between December 2018 and January 2019. During Trump's first term in office, due to a dispute between the president and Congress over border security. This has also reportedly been the longest shutdown that the U.S. ever faced. What stands out in the current standoff is the position of the Trump team, which appears bent on shuttering large parts of the U.S. government for an extended period. Officials have threatened to use a shutdown to identify non-essential workers who could then be permanently let go. During Trump 2.0, the administration has slashed spending and pushed workers out of their jobs, and now a shutdown is feared to only accelerate this process further. For more on this, Susan Tehrani is joining us live from New York. Susan, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, we are still seeing if there will be some sort of a last-minute consensus that the two sides can reach beyond just the theatrics. Do you think that is possible?
There are certainly a lot of people in government that hope so, notably those who are working in government and these agencies that will be affected. Just a few hours ago, President Trump mentioned that his administration won with a landslide, and one of the big issues was on illegal immigration and on the border issue, and that the changes that the Democrats are calling for in this bill is related to illegal immigrants getting health care, opening up the border a little more, funding for some media outlets that DOJ had pulled back. And he says that they haven't learned their lesson. That's not what the American people want. But the American people also don't want a shutdown. President Trump is expected to speak from the Oval Office shortly from now. It is expected that he's going to be addressing this shutdown. We'll wait and see whether or not he has any more news to tell us, whether or not some kind of deal has been reached. But from what we've seen since yesterday and today, these two sides seem so far apart that it's highly unlikely that there is going to be some kind of resolution.
All right, Susan, thank you so much for bringing us the latest on this. For latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.